All right, we're back here for segment 3 of the GSMC Baseball Podcast. And that is going to be about championship series and the teams that made it. So yesterday I did talk about teams that made it to the World Series and what they can do to make it back, or in the Diamondbacks' case, win this time, or in the Rangers' case, defend their championship, and what the struggles are going to be like for that. So I'm really interested in this, and I'm excited to talk about it. So obviously the two teams that made it were the Phillies in the National League and the Astros in the American League. Both teams were definitely the favorite, and both teams definitely got upset. The Phillies lost. Both teams did lose in 7. Both were pretty incredible series. Even though the Astros did lose, they had one of the most iconic moments in playoff history, with Jose Altuve hitting that home run in the bottom of the ninth. In the top of the ninth to take the lead for the Astros. I unfortunately was not watching at the time. I was doing something else. I don't know what I was doing, but I don't really remember. I think I was somewhere else, but just absolutely incredible. It was one of the greatest moments of baseball history. Just proved Altuve to be one of the greatest playoff performers of all time. But just was an incredible moment, and unfortunately did not win. But I'm here to talk about how I think they can win next time, and how to get over the hump a little bit, and just talking about their off seasons a little bit, because they are notable teams because of what they did last year. So first, we do have to talk about, I'm going to talk about the Astros first. So obviously the Astros, unlike the Phillies, have won a World Series in the 2020s. Phillies last won in 2009, but we'll get to them, don't worry. The Astros, they had an interesting offseason. So the first thing they did was add just Josh Hader out of nowhere. It was like so quick, and I think it's just a representation of how weird this market was. We heard a day before he signed that the Astros were considering making a move on Josh Hader, and that they were, they're thinking about it, we're not sure. And then next day, Jeff Passan tweets out that they agreed to deal with Josh Hader out of nowhere. The entire offseason, I thought he was going to the Rangers, even with the rumors saying they didn't want to spend. I thought him to the Rangers made the absolute most sense in the entire world, and instead he goes to their direct rival. So, the fit for the Astros is a little strange, but it's Josh Hader, so it's, I think you can get over a strange fit when you're getting an amazing player. Obviously, they had one of the better closers in baseball before this in Ryan Presley. He'll now be moved to the 8th, which moves setup man Brian Abreu to the 7th. You lost Kendall Graveman for the year, which apparently some rumors suggest that that was one of the big reasons why they pushed to get Hader so hard and did eventually get him. So, that back end of the bullpen for the Astros is one of the best in baseball, if not the best. If your pitcher pitches 6 innings, 2 runs, and that offense does what it does, and the bullpen does what it does, it's pretty much game, set, match at that point. Just incredible. I did like the move for the Astros. Again, I think it's an interesting debate to see if you should spend big money on relievers or not, because they are so volatile, and they do go up and down so much. In my opinion, though, I do think there is a little bit of a difference between a reliever and a closer. When you sign a guy, like in recent examples, to Josh Hader or Edwin Diaz, you're signing a guy that can go into the 9th inning and shut it down. They might be blow 2 or 3 games a year, but when you go to the 9th inning, okay, game's over, it's done, because we have the lead. This guy's not giving it up. We won. So I'm in big favor of paying closers, but I also don't think you should pay a closer if you're not in the right situation to. Like the Angels this offseason, they paid Robert Stevenson a big contract to presumably be their closer or the 8th inning guy. Now, Robert Stevenson is a great player, a guy I wanted on the Mets, but are the Angels really in a situation where they can give money that big of a contract to a reliever when they're probably not going to be winning much? The Mets could have done it, because the year before they won 101 games. And not only that, you look at the off-the-field situation as well with Diaz, with the trumpets, how much the fan base loved him, how much of an icon he kind of become in baseball. So look at it like that. Hader's not really like that, but I'm just making a comparison between relievers and what's going to go on with them and why they got paid like that. So, But other than that, you extended Altuve in the offseason, which of course is a great move. Extending your best player, nothing wrong with that, believe me. So, he needed to be an Astro for life with how much he's meant to that organization. In the times of with all the situations they've been going through, Altuve's kind of been the one guy to stay there. take it all on the chin. And, he said right after the scandal broke that they would win the World Series, and that's exactly what they did. He's one of the greatest playoff performers ever, probably the greatest Astro ever at this point. You could argue some other guys like Craig Biggio or Nolan Ryan, but I would probably go Jose Altuve at this point. He was just at a forefront of that Astros dynasty, is probably going to be for the next few years, depending on if you think the Astros dynasty is going to survive, quote unquote, or keep going as it is. So, an interesting offseason for the Astros. They didn't really do much, but the fact is they made two big moves. They also traded for Dylan Coleman, which is a fine move from the Royals, I guess, just fine depth move. They didn't do much, but at the same time, they did enough because the one player they did get is very, very good. I kind of look at this season as maybe a little bit of a last hurrah for the Astros. You have Framber Valdez, who not looking like he's going to get extended, and you might have to trade him next offseason if you don't extend him. You have Jose Abreu, who's regressing. You have Bregman, who might leave in free agency, who's very, in my opinion, very likely to leave. You have Kyle Tucker, who I do think will be extended, but he's not extended yet. Verlander, this is probably his last season with the Astros. I don't think he gets the innings requirement to get the vesting option. So it's kind of a last hurrah, maybe. Not for the Astros, not for being great, but just the Astros dynasty we've known of, kind of the core players. I mean, if you trade Framber, which is definitely a possibility, if Bregman leaves, which I think is going to happen, if Verlander leaves, which I think is going to happen, even Kyle Tucker, that situation, your team's going to look drastically different from the teams that won you those two championships and made the ALCS 6 years in a row. So, it was a good move by the Astros to extend Altuve, retain some of their identity, which I think Altuve is their identity at this point. He is Houston. He is the Astros franchise, and it was a great move to extend him. And, again, they didn't do much this offseason, but when you're that good of a team, it's enough. And I think you have to look at the AL with the Astros and can they get over that hump. As of right now, I would have them as, I'd say, the second best team in the AL. Actually, I'll go third. I think they're the third best team. I'd probably have Baltimore and New York over them, and then I'd have them, you have Baltimore, you have New York, who both got better. After that, I don't really know if there's any team that's really a big threat to them. The Rangers lost a lot of pieces. I'm not very high on them. The Mariners are good, but, they're young, and they still need to add some pieces, so I'm not really sure about that. Still a good team, though. Definitely have to make the playoffs. AL Central, I don't think there's anybody in there that's going to fight for them. The Twins are a very good team, but I just don't think they're on the level of the others. So, it's going to be interesting to see if the Astros can get over that hump. I would say they probably do. I would have them making the ALCS again. Again, I think it's them, Orioles, or Yankees who make it to the World Series. I would be surprised if it's anyone else. But, again, who would have thought the Rangers would make it to the World Series, and who would have thought the Diamondbacks would make it? So I think if anything's possible at this point in baseball, especially with how different things are and especially with how different the playoff format is. So I'm not going to count anyone out, but just on paper, which is always a risky game, you have Astros, Yankees, Orioles, in my opinion, in the AL. And I do think Hader and the Altuve extension were enough to get the Astros to over the hump a little bit and kind of get them to try to repeat as World Series champions. And not repeat because they made it 2 years ago, but make it back to the World Series and win the World Series again because they do have to. So, we talked a lot about the Astros, but time to talk about the other team, the Philadelphia Phillies. They've had a very interesting offseason. They've only signed a few guys. They signed Whit Merrifield, who was a nice depth piece. They re-signed Aaron Nola, who's a big piece of that rotation, of course, but, that's kind of it. A re-signing. He had kind of a down season last year. A lot of mileage on that arm, so it's kind of a risky signing a little bit, I think more than Phillies fans want to admit. So, it's something interesting to watch, see what happens there. Other than that, added Spencer Turnbull is a fine depth piece, but I'm not sure if this is enough to get over the hump, especially with what the Dodgers did. Looking at the NL here and the overview of that, first you have the Braves, who of course are the Braves. We know what the Braves are at this point. They're in just incredible team, so good. They added to it this offseason. Not enough, in my opinion. I thought they should have added one more piece. Maybe they'll even sign Blake Snell. I wouldn't be surprised if the Braves signed Blake Snell. That would make so much sense, but I'm really hoping not. You have You added Chris Sale, who's very good, but again, it is 2023, 2024 actually. Wow, he has some injury risks. Reynaldo Lopez was a nice addition, but again, kind of a risk because you are making him a starting pitcher after being a reliever for a few years. You added Jared Kelenic, who's kind of a low buy signing. If he sucks, just if he's bad, just replace him in the outfield. He'll probably be the 9 hitter. So yeah, you have the Braves, of course, who are better than the Phillies. I'd probably say the Braves are the only team in the NL East better than the Phillies. I don't think the Mets are, especially with the injuries they've had. I don't think the Marlins are with the not many people they've added this offseason. After that, you have to look in the NL Central, and I don't think any team's better than them in the NL Central. Again, I'm high in the Reds. I like the Cubs. I like what they're doing, but at the same time, I'd still go Phillies. The Phillies still have a very good team, even though they didn't add much. I mean, your hitting core is incredible. You have just this starting lineup of JT Realmuto, Bryce Harper, Bryson Stott, Alec Boehm, Trey Turner, Nick Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber, Johan Rojas, Brandon Marsh. That's an incredible starting lineup, of course. You have Zach Wheeler as your ace, Jose Alvarado manning the back end of that bullpen. So they're still a really good team. It's just, I thought they maybe should have added one or more pieces to kind of get past the hump of the NL. I think Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery do make sense for the Phillies as kind of mystery teams. I think I wouldn't be surprised if either one of them signs there. Going back to the teams now, I do think the Diamondbacks are better. They beat them last year as well, of course. I mean, making it to the World Series. So yeah, I definitely think the Diamondbacks are better. The Diamondbacks, unlike the Phillies, they added. They added Eduardo Rodriguez, Jock Peterson, Randall Grichuk, Eugenio Suarez. So I'm really, really high on the Diamondbacks. I really like what they did. So, I definitely think the Phillies should have added more. I think they can get over the hump. It's just a fact of will they. I'm not really sure right now. It's just going to be interesting to watch, see what happens here with both these teams. Can they get over that hump? Can they be better than they were last year? Keep performing. Will their offseason additions make them a lot better? I mean, both teams didn't add much, but I guess you could say it's quality over quantity, which you could argue they did. With Merrifield, nice signing for the Phillies, nice re-signing of Nola. Astros, nice signing of Hader, nice extension of Altuve. So, they didn't do much, but hopefully for them it's enough. So that is our third segment. We're going to go to a break here, but after that we're going to go to our fourth and final segment, which is going to be about news around the league, just general news around the league. I want to talk about stuff that I thought was interesting, but maybe didn't deserve its full segment. So, we're going to talk about that. First, we're going to go to a break, so I'll see you after that. Thanks.